Last night's episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live was supposed to be just another breezy segment in late-night television. Fans tuned in expecting light banter, a few laughs, and the usual warm charisma of Emma Watson, who was there to promote her latest project, a psychological thriller titled Shattered Glass. What they got instead was one of the most unexpected and tense moments in the show's history. The interview started off smoothly, with Emma greeting the audience in her usual gracious manner, smiling as cheers erupted. She looked radiant in an emerald green dress, her hair pinned back in a stylish updo, and for the first few minutes, all seemed well. Jimmy complimented her on her performance in the new film and asked a few questions about the demanding emotional scenes. Emma answered with poise, describing the challenges of playing a character dealing with layers of trauma, grief, and ultimately, empowerment. But underneath the smiles, there was a subtle undercurrent of tension that only began to surface after Jimmy steered the conversation toward a controversial and long-settled topic Emma had explicitly asked the producers to avoid. The moment things began to derail was when Jimmy, half-jokingly, brought up a 2014 interview where Emma had clapped back at a male journalist who questioned the legitimacy of her advocacy work because of her modeling career. "Remember when you told that reporter that he was part of the problem?" Jimmy said with a smirk. "That was kind of savage." Emma paused for a split second, her smile frozen, before carefully replying, "I don't think standing up for women's autonomy is savage. I think it's necessary." Her voice was steady, but her eyes had lost their earlier gleam. Jimmy, perhaps sensing he'd touched a nerve but misreading the moment, doubled down with a follow-up. Sure, but do you think sometimes activism becomes like performative, especially when celebs do it?" The audience laughed nervously, unsure whether it was a genuine question or a bit. Emma tilted her head slightly, visibly restraining herself. "Is that how you see it? As performance?" she asked, her voice lower now, more serious. There was a noticeable shift in the room's energy. The band had stopped their background riffing. The crowd had quieted. Even Jimmy, known for his quick-witted retorts, seemed thrown off by the intensity in her gaze. Trying to regain his footing, Jimmy chuckled and said, "No offense, I just mean, celebrities get on stage and suddenly they're talking politics. It's like, are we watching a movie star or a senator?" Emma didn't laugh. "Maybe the problem is expecting us to only entertain," she said, as if having a platform means forfeiting our right to speak on real issues. She sat upright, her tone calm but razor-sharp. "I'm not just an actress. I'm a person who lives in the real world. I care about things beyond scripts and red carpets." The tension was no longer subtle, it had crystallized into something thick and undeniable. Jimmy tried to lighten the mood again, gesturing exaggeratedly and saying, Okay, don't get all Hermione on me," referring to her iconic role in the Harry Potter series. A few laughs came from the audience, but they were short-lived. Emma's face dropped. "And there it is," she said quietly, mostly to herself. The fallback to reduce a woman to a role she played as a teenager, to dismiss a point by making it a joke. It was then that Emma did something no one expected. She slowly removed her microphone, placed it gently on the desk in front of her, and stood up. "I came here to talk about my work," she said. "I'm not going to sit through another conversation where my intelligence and activism are treated like punchlines." Jimmy, visibly stunned, began to say something. "Emma, wait," but she had already turned, gracefully but firmly walking off stage. There was a second of dead air, followed by a cacophony of murmurs and gasps from the studio audience. The camera cut to Jimmy, who sat blinking, clearly unsure how to proceed. "Well, I guess we'll be right back," he muttered, forcing a smile as the show went to commercial. Backstage, reports say Emma didn't yell or slam doors. Instead, she calmly asked her publicist to make a note never to book her on Jimmy Kimmel Live again. According to a crew member who spoke anonymously, Emma was composed but visibly shaken, muttering under her breath, "It never changes, does it?" Before leaving the building, the fallout online was immediate and sonic. Hashtags like #Emma deserved better and #respect Emma started trending within minutes. Clips of the exchange flooded Twitter and TikTok, each one dissected by fans and commentators alike. Some praised Emma for her courage and composure, calling the moment a masterclass in setting boundaries. Others criticized Jimmy for what they saw as outdated, flippant behavior in the face of sincere conversation. Over the next few hours, celebrities began to weigh in. Viola Davis tweeted, "Silence us with a joke, and we'll still speak. Much love to Emma Watson for walking in her truth." Meanwhile, Jimmy remained quiet. His show's official social media accounts went dark for the rest of the night, save for a pre-scheduled post promoting an upcoming musical guest. By morning, the incident had made headlines across major outlets. Variety ran a feature titled, "Emma Watson Walks Off Jimmy Kimmel's Set When Activism and Entertainment Collide." Even outlets that rarely cover Hollywood, like The Atlantic, chimed in, analyzing what the moment said about gender dynamics in modern media. Later that day, Emma posted a short message on her Instagram stories. It read, "We're allowed to expect better. We're allowed to say no. We're allowed to walk away." She didn't mention Jimmy by name, but the meaning was clear. The message was accompanied by a simple black and white photo of her looking out over a balcony, rain in the distance. It was poetic, like something from a Sofia Coppola film, and it resonated. Millions of shares, retweets, and reposts followed. Fans began editing together montages of Emma's past speeches and activism highlights, setting them to empowering music and tagging them #WatsonUnfiltered. Even some critics who had once dismissed her feminist work as celebrity posturing seemed to be reconsidering. Jimmy Kimmel issued a statement the following evening, acknowledging the incident and apologizing for what he called misjudged humor. "I regret that Emma felt uncomfortable or disrespected. It wasn't my intention," he said, but some viewers felt the apology was lukewarm, more PR damage control than sincere remorse. Still, others praised him for owning the moment and hoped the experience would serve as a learning opportunity for the industry at large. Whether his apology will lead to meaningful change remains to be seen. What's undeniable, though, is that the moment has reignited conversation about the role of women in media, the expectations placed on celebrities, and the fine line between comedy and condescension. In the days that followed, Emma canceled a few promotional appearances but confirmed she would continue with others, including a scheduled TEDx talk on modern empathy in public space. There, she briefly referenced the Kimmel moment, saying, "When your voice makes others uncomfortable, that's when it's often needed most." The audience gave her a standing ovation. Meanwhile, Shattered Glass, her new film, has seen a spike in pre-orders and ticket interest. Some say the walk-off may have done more for awareness than any standard promo tour could have. It's a strange paradox. The very moment she was silenced has become the loudest endorsement of her integrity. As this story continues to ripple across platforms and headlines, one thing is clear. Emma Watson's stand was about more than just one interview. It was about the right to be taken seriously, about refusing to have one's convictions turned into comedy fodder. And in walking away, Emma didn't retreat. She ascended. She reminded millions that sometimes silence speaks the loudest, but only after you've said what matters most.